Yes.
Tonight, we're gonna give you these checks.
Okay.
Can I ask, okay. So you find them now. Yeah. Copy that. I would take that copy to your stuff. Like, basically, they get this. I heard they put up here, they get this and this. Or they get, well, oh, okay, so she's sending me letters. Yeah. Okay. All right, no. All right, never mind. Well, you got it. And then we'll probably wait till you get back. I don't know how. She doesn't know. She responded, Sandy. But she did not respond to my email.
Launching.
Might still be able to hear you.
Got on late to be in me. I think he's getting used to it.
Good morning, everybody. It is of the hour 10, estimated 10:21 on on July 16th. We are starting our Jobs Committee meeting this Friday. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Iqbal,
Iqbal present.
Gopi, Lewis, Molina,
present.
Wallace, Ford,
Present.
Davist.
Right, so we'll just skip the minutes, approval of the minutes, and we'll move on to the workforce development.
Good morning, Chairman Ford. This is Scott Berger.
Good
Can you
morning,
hear me?
Mr. Berger.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to you and members of the committee. At this time, we certainly want to extend a warm welcome to our newest board member, Mr. Wallace, who I see on my screen but hasn't quite joined us yet. In your agenda packet for today's meeting, you will find reports of our financial activity through the end of May. My colleague Maria Gonzalez is here today to walk you through those. I just want to note for you, however, that June 30th did mark the conclusion of our program year for our Workforce Development Division. And so we are currently in the process of closing out that year's finances, including making final expenditures as well as logging in our obligations. As you know, our program is measured against various financial benchmarks. And so in the coming days, we'll close those records out, and we expect to provide you with reports next month that show our reaching those benchmarks. But for now, at this time, I will turn it over to my colleague Maria to present our May financials. Maria?
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for providing that introduction. I was actually looking at the numbers yesterday in preparation for our report submittal on Tuesday, and I am pleased to report that we will be hitting all of our various benchmarks. With all of the hard work that was done by the program team and the administrators of the grants, we are going to achieve our 80% benchmarks on the WIOA 20 grant. In your packet, if you turn to page 3, you will see the WIOA 19 expenditure report. That grant did conclude on June 30th, where we had to fully spend all the funds. While the May report does show that we still had a balance of $5,600, that has been fully expended as of today. Pages 4 through 6 is just a detail report that aligns with that. Page 7 is your WIOA 20 expenditure report. Again, based on how the state tracks our progress, the May report does reflect that we're tracking low. In preparation, again, for Tuesday's submittal to the state of our expenses, I have been looking at things very closely. And with all of the various contracts that have been executed and approved throughout the month of May and June, we have been able to achieve the 80% benchmark. The training benchmark has remained constant throughout the course of the whole program year at over 50%. During the month of May, it was at 56. Pages 8 through 10, again, is the detailed report that aligns with that summary. Page 11 is your trade grant report. This grant concludes on September 30th of 2021, so we still have a few more months to fully spend down the remaining balance there. The program team and I are starting to look at that to ensure that we fully spend it down by the end of the grant period. Conversations have already started to take place. And lastly is the statewide rapid response grant. The May report here does show that we have a balance of $67,000, but all of the reimbursements that were approved by the state for the various companies within our local area, they were paid on June 29th to the tune of $156,804.52. So everything has been accounted for. Everything worked out accordingly. I know the state was a little concerned because it took a while to get the flow through with that, but once the review process was completed, the checks were cut and sent out. I know it's a short report, but are there any questions?
Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, let's move on to our presentation on our fiber optics networking in the county.
Sorry about that. If you'd like, we can move ahead to item B. We had item A as a budgetary presentation by Mark.
Okay, we can do that, yes.
A. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for
They're not here.
being here this morning. So for those of you who are at the committee of the whole, this is a little bit of a repeat information from the budget presentation for the development department, but just focusing on the Fund 400 budget. Of the programs that the development department covers, the ones in green really are the ones that highlight involvement with economic development and job creation. Our general economic development program, our Kane Energy Efficiency Program, farmland preservation, and our Growing for Kane local food businesses. So some of the priority activities that have emerged in 2021 that the budget is focused towards addressing are the goal of launching a countywide economic development organization, promoting the fabulous Fox Water Trail for tourism, support agriculture and local food businesses, and to expand broadband. And you're going to hear more about that in the next presentation. So some of the funding sources available for pursuing those, Fund 400 Economic Development is riverboat funds. It's funded through an internal request process, so that's going through the process now. Staff is requesting the same level of funding as 2021 in order to replenish the fund, which has been done since 1999. But we're also increasing that budget with additional use of some of the fund balance, cash on hand, that has been kind of in reserve, and to be really well positioned for matching funds for grants and emerging opportunities, for piggyback grants like we did with the export grant program, and then earlier this year with the Compeer grants to our local food growers. So it really helps the county board be agile and flexible to apply for other grant funds and use it as a match. Other potential funding that we are pursuing for these activities, the Kane County's American Rescue Plan funds. Some of these activities would be eligible for that. The US EDA and USDA grants that we are pursuing and applying for based on availability, and congressional earmarks. Those are back, as some of you are aware. And we had submitted things through the House representative budgets, and then we're waiting for some results that we submitted through Senator Durbin's office. And this is what the spreadsheet looks like. So it does show an increase in what we're anticipating having available to use in this year, but it's generally coming from the increase in the use of cash balance in the account. And any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Thanks.
Any questions? Go ahead, Mavis.
So what do you think of which of these projects might apply to our American Rescue Plan? I
Sure.
know the broadband will, but
Yeah, it's typically the broadband could. There's a lot of different federal agencies that are pouring grant money into broadband. So Roger and I are working together on that. But generally, all the top three, there's a lot of discussion around using ARP funds for coming up with strategies for recovery and resilience and economic development. So we're
okay.
certainly looking at that for doing a study to prepare the launch for coming up with a strategy and making recommendations. There certainly could be aspects for tourism that's also part of economic development planning, and potentially for infrastructure projects related to that. And then agriculture and local food businesses, well, we emphasize that because it's, the number one revenue moneymaker in the county in terms of an industry, but it really is all part and parcel of economic development and jobs, the number of jobs that for companies in the ag industry or support farms, support our agribusinesses, they're all related. It's kind of a separate, specialized cluster is another word for it. And some of our programs especially focus on that with the farmland preservation.
Good, all of those. Okay, thanks.
The one thing that I'm excited about with this is the technology. We don't, and yes, and I'm not a technology person, but I do see and I do hear from the younger generation how they're pursuing their job career, and it's all based on technology. There's a place in Aurora called Bureau Gravity, and it might be a good idea one day may have them come in and explain what it is that takes place there. And it's amazing to walk in there. What looks like a regular, like kids, young people on the games, but they really all are at work making a living for themselves. So it's a whole different world that we got to open the doors for. I do not understand it. I do not use it, but I do see the future of it. I know Roger's here now, and I don't know how much people understand about broadband, but I do understand that our from the federal level, there's a big push to bring funds in to produce the broadband, and we don't know the impact that it's going to make, but it's just something that I'm glad as a county we're out in front of instead of waiting to see what everybody else is doing. So I don't know if Roger wants to go into a little bit about broadband to.
Yeah. Well, I had come, Chris Toth had told me that they were going to be talking about fiber, or they had that on your agenda
Yes,
today.
okay.
I don't know if have you done the presentation yet?
No, not yet, no.
So yeah, the county as a whole, and I don't want to take away from what Chris was going to talk about regarding fiber and development, but the county's been involved with fiber probably for the last 15 to 20 years since I've been here. When I started at the county 19 years ago, we had a mix of poor connections. They were basically phone lines and what they would describe as T1 lines, which had very limited capabilities. Mavis, you're very familiar with that, I'm sure. We had frame relay circuits between us and DeKalb even. So over a period of the first 5 years that I was here, we did a plan to upgrade all the various infrastructure for the government buildings. Then we got into the discussion about how do you get to offices in Aurora and Elgin and some of the neighboring communities, and how do you get enough bandwidth to support the government for their own needs and then helping the community. And a lot of it started with the schools and the cities. So we started working on plans for the development of fiber with the city of Geneva for the government buildings and schools. And that was kind of our first parlay into this. We joint purchased fiber with the city of Geneva and their public works to connect the buildings in Geneva with fiber. So that was all done some time ago, and we still use that under a lease with the city of Geneva. But then around 2012, we started the construction of our own fiber, and we partnered with the transportation department, who was doing fiber for signal management and for intersection management. And we used a lot of their vaults and conduits to help lower the cost of building fiber along county right-of-ways. So a lot of the cost, benefit, and justification for that is based on how much would it cost us to lease the fiber or lease the connections from a carrier or from a commercial provider versus owning it, and what's our payback period? How long does it take for us to get our money back if we own it versus leasing it from someone? Most of the time, that takes about 3 to 5 years to actually pay off what we would have leased from a private company. So owning it has some significant benefits financially to the county. And then secondarily, if any other organizations or even business has a benefit from it, that's just an added plus to owning it, in addition to lowering our costs of operating it. So we've been running and expanding upon the county's fiber for the last close to 8 years. And we have, I think, somewhere around 70 miles of fiber in the ground. It goes from North County Line Road in Algonquin all the way to Montgomery in the south. And we run Orchard Road, Randall Road, we have Kirk Road, Stearns Road where the bridge is, and then Fabian. So all of those major county highways have fiber. And then we also take Route 64 out Burlington to KDOT. So we have another lateral that goes out west. So that's kind of the basic fiber network, and that connects the county's approximate 30 buildings. And we're in, I think, 7 cities now, about 7 different cities in the county. Primarily, we're using it for the government and other organizations, but there are some additional carrier resources where they've been purchased what I would call infrastructure from us or leased it to allow them to deliver service to a business. We do make some revenue from that. Those agreements have been in place for some time now. We're actually revisiting some of that right now and looking at how we would continue to expand on leasing infrastructure. A lot of what you see in the rescue plan and the federal bills talk about broadband and delivering it to business, agribusiness, rural residential, education sector. And where the county fits into that role is what they call middle mile infrastructure. So we're not necessarily delivering it to a house or to a business, but we're providing infrastructure that you can extend to make it a lower cost of entry for a provider to do that. So we can bring fiber infrastructure out to a location, and then a prospective fiber to the home or an internet service provider would provide it to the house and do the billing and servicing, but we would lower the cost of entry by providing middle mile infrastructure. And that's probably where we see ourselves fitting most of the time. We do some partnerships with government and education that are more direct, but a lot of our work is with an existing carrier that wants to provide service to a customer, but it's cost prohibitive to build the fiber. So if we have it in place, they want to use our fiber and lease it from us. So I did bring some maps with me. If you wanted to see kind of what it looks like, I could show you what we have. So Blair, I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay? Am I up to share? Let me see if I can get this shared out here real quick. Let's see. We gotta find the right maps. Let me go back. Yeah, just give me 1 second. I gotta pull up the right links. Yeah, there it is. All right. Share and maps. So what you're going to see, this map starts off, this is kind of congested, but you'll see the county, and I was showing this to Chairman Ford before the meeting. This is actually tower assets throughout the county. This is Tricom, Canecom, and SBA tower assets. So all those dots, as they get clustered around, they're actually towers within the county that the county is using, or TRICOM or the Tri-Cities are using. We use a lot of that for VHF radio network. And then you'll see the lines in there. Those lines are actually the fiber network that we operate throughout the county. And you'll see up north where we end. That's what I was talking about. We go all the way up to North County line, and we have a couple of small laterals that go off of this for KDOT. The red lines are just simply transportation lines. The blue is,
Is this Randall?
the blue line to the left or west is Randall Road. And then this is the lateral going across the river here is Stearns Road Bridge, and it connects into 25 and then down to Kirk Road. And then as you go down, this is actually 64 and then a jut out Burlington to KDOT. And then this is Randall Road coming down. This little spot here is the Judicial Center. That's where we branch off into the Judicial Center. And then you'll see us come down to Fabian. Fabian, we take that and run all the way over to Kirk Road again. And then you'll see us go down into Orchard, and we spill down into Orchard all the way down to Montgomery, where Kendall County is. And then this side over here, we stop at Kirk and Route 56 because the city of Aurora takes over Farnsworth south of there. And we tie into the city of Aurora fiber at that point, and we also tie into the city of Aurora at Sullivan Road and Orchard. So we also connect into the city of Aurora fiber network on both sides of the city, and we share fiber and resources with the city to do things as well. So we use the city to get to the Aurora Branch Court, the Aurora Health Department, Aurora Court Services, and the city uses us to provide services that they need on the county network.
Is this the Forest Preserve over here?
Yeah, the Forest Preserve is on this side, and there's a water tower or a tower right across the street from them, but this is the Forest Preserve's network. And it says this is the former sheriff's office, but this is the Forest Preserve. And what you're seeing in here is Illinois 38 and Fabian, and this area here is the DuPage Business Park. And the county line is this line here. And right now the green part we lease from the DuPage Airport Authority, and we go back into the SBA Edge New Continuum Data Center. There's a large data center located in this section of the park, and we provide a lot of the county's data services out of that data center. It's a commercial data center. It's a tier 2. It's got all the certifications and ratings, diverse power, air conditioning, everything is taken care of. And it's I believe it's a tornado like E5 rated building or something like that.
That's where you're going to put all that body cam.
That's where that is where we store everything right now. And I would tell you that this was owned by the DuPage Airport Authority. All of this space has been under development. And right now we are actually about 2/3 of the way building our own connection into the airport authority, into the park. And it's mainly because the airport authority doesn't want to support leasing fiber out there anymore. They're trying to get out of the park entirely. So all private owners are in the park now, and airport authority is basically talking about turning over this green part to an association of tenants. And then the association of tenants has told us that they're not really interested in maintaining it long-term. We tried to offer to manage it for them even, and they were like, no, we just want to get out of the business. So we're in the process right now of building our own connection through there. You saw the license agreement and the easements that we ran through. That's for that construction, and that'll be done probably in the next month. We'll have that done. What that does is, you think about the network that the county needs. The county may need off of this entire network. Let's say we use 12 strands of fiber, right? For everything the county needs. In each of those cables, there's 144 strands. So we have a lot of capacity, probably 80% or more in the duct that's available. And now with the construction in West Chicago that we're doing, we'll actually have a diverse entry. In other words, we come into the data center from two different directions and we bring it back to our county network. And anybody that really wanted to get to that data center, we have a direct path all the way into the data center. So, but that's what we've been working on and maintaining. I like to give an example of why it's important. So this little green line that goes in from the south into West Chicago, the cost of that green line per month to run a pair of fiber is about $3,500 a month to lease it, just to lease it. I'm gonna run out of battery. So leasing it's about $3,500 a month for a pair. In order for us to do what we want it to do, we need 6 of those. So six pair times 3,500. Now to build it, we're paying a little over $350,000 to build it.
Wow.
So we look at 5 years and say, you know, if I paid 60 times 3,500, I'm at over $200,000 for one pair, and I need 6 of them. So building it is obviously a lot more economical and long-term. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be in this business for a while. So the goal is to try and actually own the fiber and reduce our long-term costs.
So we have a long-term savings by using it
Yes.
that we built ourselves. And then on the aspect of there's like 80% you said about
We have about 80% available.
Yes. For other users. So that can improve our schools, manufacturing, IT businesses.
Yep.
All of our government centers that's throughout the county.
Yep. I think I'm gonna lose my computer if I don't find my power cord. So.
You need my cord?
What's that?
You need my
No,
cord?
mine's a little different, I think. So, I don't know what I did with it.
So any other thoughts or comments while Roger's getting?
Yeah, if I lose my cord, it won't matter.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mavis.
So is our major
You gotta use your
goal-
mic. You can't.
is our major goal here, you know, I'm old AT&T Bell Labs. So we had universal coverage mandates. So is that part of this, is to make sure that everybody has broadband?
So.
And
So the broadband part of it is a kind of an interesting issue and challenge. We do, like I said, middle mile infrastructure. So we'll have carriers and companies come to us and say they're interested in getting from point A to point B.
mhm,
And we'll have network providers come to us and tell us they want to provide services to this location. And there's services that inventory all the fiber in the county. They keep track of what's available. And they contact kind of like a broker, and they sell fiber to get people from point A to point B.
mhm.
We're in that market space with everybody else. We have kind of a unique asset that other people don't have. And other companies will come and talk to us about using it. And we usually use another reseller or carrier to facilitate the purchase, because we're not going to service them directly. We're not set up for that. We don't have a big customer service type of setup. We haven't done too much with residential. It's usually a carrier that wants to get to a really large business. But the demands for broadband, a lot of the demand is out west or west of Randall Road and in unincorporated or in rural areas. And I would say that one of the big challenges is that you can't bring cable to them. It has to be wireless. So you're dealing with point-to-point wireless frequencies, like a 5 gigahertz type of frequency, or you're doing private 5G with the telephone companies. But getting a cable to them is really difficult. It's expensive. So usually the cost prohibitive part of that kicks in. And so one of the things that we had been talking about with the rescue plan is, if you extend infrastructure west of Randall and Orchard and you get the fiber out there, somebody as a provider that wants that as a business would put the wireless infrastructure in, or they would do the cabling to the homes. We would just lower the cost of getting there by putting fiber infrastructure in. And then the other thought was to do elevation, which is to get towers or get up in the air so you could actually use wireless infrastructure to get to a farm or get to an agribusiness type of location. And we have some, what I would call preliminary engineering estimates of the cost of doing three routes out west. One would go out all the way to Big Rock off of Route 30. One would be out to like Elburn, Maple Park, Lily Lake. Another was going to go out through Pingree Grove out to Hampshire. So we kind of show what those 3 routes look like, what they cost, what communities are around them. And we have a program budget for what that would look like. And that's kind of what we're promoting as an answer to some of these requests for, hey, can you do something about broadband out in the rural areas? You also run the risk of competing with people that are in that space already. And that's where being a middle mile provider puts us out of the contention. They're competing with other people in their space, not the government.
Yeah, good.
So we don't, the second you say the government's going to deliver it to their houses, every home provider of internet will be jumping up and down and want to, beat us into submission probably. But the reality is, if they're not providing the service out there and we can help lower the cost so that somebody will.
That's it.
This sounds like when AT&T was,
Yeah.
their wires are being used by MCI or
Yes.
Sprint, or it's
Yep.
good.
So we have a lot of people that want to use, and I will tell you that before we built any of this fiber, we approached AT&T, Comcast, and another cable provider, and we asked them if they wanted to do a public-private partnership and build this with us. They all turned us down.
Well, good for us.
So they said no, and
Did
we
you
were.
submit your request to the ARP committee yet?
We haven't gotten the instructions for what
Okay.
the actual forms are. I believe Jarrett and the committee, they're going to have,
The portal isn't open.
they're going to
yet.
have, they're actually going to have us, I think, build the
On that committee.
forms. Yeah. So Jarrett was talking to us about building the request forms,
Mhm.
and we're going to have those. We'll be submitting that project along with some
Build the
others.
request form so you can
Yes.
submit your request.
Yeah, we're going to tailor those to expedite our requests. No, yeah, but that's what we're working on
Okay,
right
thanks.
now.
The one thing great about this is how much, as we go along with this economic development countywide plan, that how much these two are going to work together
Yeah.
and become part of what I consider, as we talk, a master plan for economic development. That's what I think we're really leaning towards. So we're going to have 2 master plans. One, we're going to talk, our master plan we're working on is talking about all of our structures, our buildings, and where
Sure.
we're going to be 10 to 20 years from now, what buildings we're going to keep, what we're going to, are we,
Yeah.
what other offices may need to come into play, what size people may need for future staff development or storage and things like that.
So one of the other things that I was going to show you is on the screen, this is actually the construction progress going into the tech park. And we actually are doing this day by day, what is being done out there. So as you look at the construction progress, this would have been done so this is as of the 9th. We've installed 800 feet of conduit out there. They did that day. And then as you go down, we have a person that goes out and takes pictures of the different sites that they're working at. So hopefully, yeah, so they're just going down the sidewalk path and putting in the handholds and vaults and stuff and running. That's some of the drawings that they're working off of that day.
Where's this?
This is out at the
green-
DuPage
green
Business Park, yeah, along the right of way.
And the unique thing about putting in cable is it's being pushed. So there's not so much damage being done as far as digging and things like that.
Yeah.
So with our economic development, we're really creating a master plan throughout the county on how to merge everything together. And me and Chris has talked many times about the different components that are out there where we can try to actually spend time and making some of our projects more long-term so that we can actually close gaps and become a middle person for a lot of the different areas, like for instance, the employer and employee, new development, and what new development needs and where to get it from, what's exist out there job-wise, and what's need to be created. So it's just a great overall plan that we can be working on. Any other comments or?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I thank and congratulate Roger for thinking ahead. But I also see that we have a challenge ahead. What I see is that, as Roger said, we have 80% of the cable doing nothing. And we have invested money into it. What is being done to market it to the entities, but particularly public entities like school districts or others who could use it and run with that rather than getting this thing wasted? I am afraid that a new technology would come and all this fiber optic, which is a great thing right now, would be obsolete.
Yeah, and actually a lot of it is being done. We already, and I'll let Roger go ahead
Sure.
with that.
So a lot of the fiber that we have is in use by schools and education. We partner with NIU Net, iFiber, and Illinois Century Network, which does the schools. We have Illinois Century Network on multiple segments of our fiber. They actually use our fiber to get to Elgin Community College and McHenry County College. And then the schools, they're in an interesting situation. The schools get E-rate, which is a federal reimbursement for the fiber and internet services that they use. And unfortunately for E-rate, they're only allowed to use the money for what they consume. So we can lease them a strand of fiber to do what they want to do, or have a provider provide them internet, but they have to go through a relatively complicated federal process to file for E-rate, and then you have to respond to a bid to get the E-rate. So we don't complete those applications. You have to get what they call a spend number, and you have to get registered with the feds. And so we allow the providers to propose on the schools, and we offer them our infrastructure if they need it to complete their network. So NIU Net has kind of led the charge on doing the schools for us, because they do have all of the credentials to do the E-rate. And we've supported them on doing, I think we've probably done something with most of the schools at one time or another. I would say that the schools have kind of gone in and out of our network and the ICN network and private networks. And just like anybody else, they take it out to the street and see how low of a price they can get. And they go wherever that is every couple of years. And sometimes it's NIU, sometimes it's the state, sometimes private providers provide it, but they are a very competitive market space to get the schools. There are some commercial providers that won't bid on the school work because it's so competitive, they say it's not profitable. So we've had a couple of them we've talked to, and they're like, yeah, well, we don't compete on the school work just because other people compete so well, we just can't do it. So, but we do take an interest in it. I do think that the municipalities in particular and their economic development people would benefit greatly if maybe our economic development or development folks and IT were to talk with them directly. And Chris and I have talked about this recently, going out on, maybe some types of meetings with the different municipalities to see what needs they have. And I think that would be an important step.
Yes.
If anything, they'll know what we have and they'll know what we're doing. The other side of that would be we might be able to fix some problems or help them with some development. So,
Chris, are you gonna say something?
Oh, yeah, just when we move on from this part, I just wanted to present part of my presentation because
Okay.
Roger has done a much better job than I ever could about talking about the history of fiber and what we have in the county.
Just one more, also, I believe like in Aurora, the Unlight has reached out to the schools and is trying to
Yes.
work with them on how to make that connection so that, so a lot of that's happening, but I think the thing is that Roger's trying to say is our job only goes so far, and then we need other providers to come in, service providers, is that what you call them?
Yeah.
To come in and try to close those gaps into the different departments.
Yep.
So, all right, anything else?
No, thank
All right, let's go ahead and kind of get off track here a little bit.
Oh, no, thank you. And thank you again, Roger, for joining us today, because like I said, he's a much better resource, especially when it comes to the technical and historical side of our fiber network. I'm just going to move ahead quite a bit, mostly because I just want to talk about fiber today from the economic development side of things. And in the past, the county has actually put advertisements into economic development magazines for the state. And one of the things that we were highlighting was our unique infrastructure with the fiber network, because we are the only county in Illinois that has its own fiber network. So when we promote that, I only promote it in that we have the network. I don't promote services. I don't promote any of that because the county does not provide it. But when we talk about fiber, we'd like to talk about symmetrical speeds, which means same upload, download speeds. So that means you can send and receive information at similar speeds. It's not the exact same when you have cable internet. It's a greener solution, which you talked about briefly, how you push it into the ground, but it also, because it doesn't use power, it's more green friendly. So we promote that. It's great redundancy solutions for our local businesses because fiber internet does not rely on power. So if it's a great backup to have, so we promote it as that. It's also unlimited data, which if you're a Comcast or other provider, unlimited data has become a new topic for a lot of people concerned, especially as they work from home and data usage.
Right.
And then faster speeds. A gigabit down speed is just, it's insane how fast that is compared to 200 megabyte per second local internet. And when I talk about fiber, job creation, it's one of the key components in job creation, especially in the tech research and highly advanced in infrastructure requiring businesses. You can use that to attract businesses, just that we have the fiber as a network out here and the potential that it offers. It also offers business support due to its connectivity. The big thing that was put out before the pandemic was its ease of allowing telecommunicating and all of the high bandwidth usage that people would be using from their businesses and homes to connect remotely. And now it's become even more important as ever as we move to a more hybrid model. Telecommuting is still an attractive thing for people to use in recruiting their prospective employees. In terms of research, I know Fermilab is connected to the fiber network because of the just insane amount of data that they use. We've talked about tech and entrepreneurship. Savings, it's just you save by having the infrastructure, you save by the cost. And then the property values that it brings to having that fiber network and the potential of connecting through ISPs or other providers. Just people knowing that there's fiber in the ground gives immediate value locally. And I just wanted to, again, thank Roger. Him and Charles are the 2 points of contact for any questions. We want to always continue to keep fiber is an asset that we promote for our economic development. And it's just something we want to keep in mind as we move forward with more planning. Just how can we make that an attractive sell, or how do we utilize that when we market our county to prospective residents, business owners, and employees?
This is going to be really important when we get to a point where we're really looking at job creation and why we're the place to come to, why Kane County, when it comes to creating jobs and looking for jobs. Any questions, comments for Chris? All right. Then we can move on. Our staff update for Economic Development Initiative.
Thank you. Both Mark and I just have two short objects to share with you today. when it gets up there, I wanted to share some good news with our unemployment numbers. We've had some really, really good news for the month of May. We've actually had a nice drop in our unemployment. We had a full percentage point plus drop in May. And unfortunately, I don't have an exact answer to why that thing is, but I'm slowly starting to see less and less we need workers signs at our buildings, or at least where I live in the Tri-City area. I'm seeing less of those. So people are starting to get back to work. The state of Illinois has remained flat now for 3 months straight, and it's looking like June is probably going to be somewhere similar. Interestingly enough, I haven't found the reason why, but USA has actually gone up. The unemployment has risen 0.1%. That there's next couple months we might see some slight fluctuations between 5.8, 5.96, and 5.7. It's going to be very variable, but that's due to the job openings numbers have been just not good. The predictions were we were supposed to be to about 9 million by the end of May. In June, we were hoping to be about 8.8, but now the predictions have moved up substantially. We barely got 100,000 jobs filled in May. So using what we've seen, we're predicting that the number of open jobs in the United States is going to be about 9.1 million. Given our unemployment number being really good for the month of May and not too much of a dip or change expected for June, I'd say we're looking at about 25 to 28,000 people still out of work in the county that we're just looking for ways to get back into work with our partners. But we're on great track for the county. And now that we're really standing out in the state, it's just great news to highlight.
All right, any questions or comments?
I have a question. Are we over time? So the ARP is considering childcare as one of our priorities. Do you think that would help in the job sector?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I personally am one of the parents who have a child at home and a wife that works remotely due to the pandemic. And a lot of people that I know that also have had children, I believe the term is the she-cession, was when 800,000 jobs were lost for women during the pandemic. And it's going to be something very fascinating to study over the next couple of years about the changes in work habits that women had during the recession and what that meant for childcare, the childcare industry, and for employment. But that is an issue that I think continues to be a forefront in terms of women in employment. So if going back to my original answer, I would just say a very hard and firm yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Any other questions or comments? Anything else? Go ahead.
Yeah, just have a update on what we're seeing as an emerging trend. And as most people know, Chicago particularly is really raised the level on their film production in terms of attracting, blockbuster movies and TV shows and that kind of thing. And what just heard this morning actually from a site locator for Amazon is that more and more of these production companies are looking at Illinois as Illinois continues to increase in Chicago, but they're not looking for Chicago scenes. They're looking for small towns, they're looking for farms, they're looking for, more unique locations based on the type of production they're doing. So we've had so far this year two different television series set requests for filming. And we don't really have a ordinance or a process that's fitted just for that. And we do for what we call special events, but it's more geared towards a single event on a single property, as opposed to what we're learning together with our other agencies are, multiple properties and roads and multi-jurisdictions. This particular one that was out this morning, partially in unincorporated Kane County, and they're going to be filming tonight in the village of Elburn. So a lot of the same, community is involved and highway township commissioners and everybody, that impacts. So the benefit is, they've booked all their hotel rooms in Aurora and St. Charles for their crew and the cast, and they're renting equipment and they're buying food, and so economic activity going on associated with it. So anyways, kind of an emerging trend. I was interested in here this morning that this trend may continue as these production companies look for more unique locations. They picked this site in particular because it was the closest rural setting to Chicago that they could find. It was like, you guys are just perfect here, right on the edge. He had just driven out from Chicago this morning. So we may see more of this, and we want to be prepared, to communicate, but so it goes really well for these production companies and goes really well for our residents and businesses and different government agencies. So we'll keep you posted, but we can add, with a small letter, P, production, economic development dollars. So thank you.
Thank you. That's real interesting.
It was a surprise.
Ask a question
Go
regarding
ahead. Go ahead.
that? Mark, is there currently any kind of permitting process that the film production companies have to fill out for the municipalities or for the county? I know that's kind of where you're going, but can anybody just come and decide they want to film, anywhere without asking permission?
Well, yes and no. Right now, for the unincorporated areas, there's not a specific coordinated permit process for that. I've been applying what we call our special event permit process. It's the closest thing we have right now, but it really isn't geared for movie production or television show production, where they may be filming for several weeks in different locations and everything. I'm going to be checking. I understand Aurora's done some things with film production.
They have.
City of Elgin has. So we're going to reach out to our municipalities, as well as try to reach out to other counties and look for best practices around the country, so that we can be prepared. A lot of times they're making those site selection decisions and their scheduling decisions, in real time, just weeks in advance of maybe being at a location. So part of being prepared is being able to disseminate, the schedule and the contacts and everything quickly. But we're going to be looking into that, so you might be seeing something.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's
coming
exciting. We want to make it a seamless process, so that's not like, a lot of red tape, but we also maybe want to look at maybe a revenue source out of that. So,
Sure, certainly.
okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
They just opened a film
Yeah.
school in Chicago today.
Yeah. And, we're in Aurora have a center just for arts. So there's going to be a big need to get things moving that direction. Although that we're mostly concerned about the unincorporated part, but it'd be good to work with the cities and villages, because like you just said, the boundary that they're looking to use actually is not so centralized like you do when you're just trying to get a special use permit. It's for that particular area, usually a very short period of time, no more than a day, sometimes 2 days, but this is a lot broader, and it brings so much to the community with restaurants, like you said, hotels, just resources that they need to buy. People get hired during those types of things to fill in. I had an older brother, they several times back in the day in Chicago, had a chance to be on big stage filming because he was out there and got selected to be a part of some films. So a lot of things take place. A lot of people who are looking to have a career in that area, from one part of it to another, they need carpenters to help build the stages and stuff like that, the scenes and things. So that's a lot that takes place. Anything else? All right, I don't know if we have enough to do any of to actually vote on anything. I think we lost. So I don't know if there's any new business. I know we have talked about sometime in the near future that we had picked a month for trying to do a roundtable. So with things starting to be more open now. I think we had, I think what month we had, do you remember? September. So we'll look closer into that. I think that would be, and I'll make that part also of my co-chair comments. I don't think there's any public comments. We can't do the reports placed on file, so we move that and the minutes up to our next meeting. There's no need for executive session, so look for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman, Mo Iqbal.
Actually, Molina beat you to it, but you can second it.
I second it.
All right. Motion been made and second. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?